I was not able to get to the garden in over a year. And basically everything just grew itself, so that's exciting. You see, there's always the positive within the negative, and if you just stay calm and pay attention, you will learn, and nature will teach you. So basically I'm situated in the north of Europe and the garden is in southern Europe, and due to whatever, I couldn't get to the garden. So what happened was, and what is really interesting I'm going to share with you, is that the garden actually seeded itself. And when I got back, of course I've been working now for 2 months. But so this is now almost the 1st of August 2021, and then down here, like, I just don't know how they did it, right? So this is a wall, and underneath is just hard, ugly building material and sand. Now, how did these tomatoes get there in such a nice row? I don't know. They somehow did it. And this is calendula, and it also planted itself. So they're doing that down by the wall on this horrible, oh wow, there's another one. What is this? Is a different variety. That's another tomato plant. So I'm letting them grow. But basically these tomatoes must have come from what fell off in the autumn, and so what I did was, when I got back, I just staked them up the bamboo. Yes, so today is 31st of July 2021. Yes, so today is tomorrow's 31st of July 2021. Tomorrow's August 1st. Really, the garden and has been really in command of itself. Has been for more than a year. In command of itself. And what's pretty amazing, and I'll talk about this later, about the mind, the psyche, and what's pretty amazing, the human psyche and its relationship to the garden, later about the mind, the psyche, the human psyche and its relationship to the garden. I mean, there's incredible respect. I don't know, or something, or some kind of energy, intelligence, or something, or some kind of energy, intelligence. Did that in a year what I would do, which is, some would say, like in a year what I would do. Actually, we have to find some would say like paranormal way to talk about this, because we have to find different way to talk about this, because look how evenly spaced these tomato plants. I mean, look how evenly self-grown, and somehow the tomato plants, the little one there's further self-grown, and somehow the, and then the little one there's further away, calendula flower, and then the mystery of the order, calendula flower. This is something that I would have done, and the mystery of the order. I mean, look at the order. This is exactly what I would have done, and the garden did it itself. What you see here, this is exactly what I would have done, and more about the mystery of that, because I'm seeing it, so and I'm considering it. I have to know the mystery of that, because I'm considering it, and I'm considering it. I have to now consider what exactly I'm being shown, and of course the strawberries. Well, the strawberries this year were absolutely shown, and of course the strawberries. Well, yeah, now the strawberries this year were absolutely fantastic. There's still some coming up. Yeah. Now they're at the order in the garden. Of course, the straw. Okay, then I have to talk about the straw. The order in the garden,
because the
of course, the Strawbale garden,
then
putting straw down in the soil is incredibly important.
Because the Strawbale garden, putting straw down in the soil,
together with the plants, it kept down the.
Because the straw maintained that order.
All the weeds,
together with the plants, it kept down the.
It maintained
all
soil
the weeds, balance and humidity and temperature.
It maintained soil
balance and humidity and temperature.
In the tomato house,
the Strawbale tomato house area.
In the tomato
These
house,
plants also,
the Strawbale tomato house
seeded themselves.
Area.
These
and
plants
pretty much
also
grew the way
I had grown them the 2 years before.
And
the only thing I did is
when I came back 2 or 3 months
I had
ago,
grown them the 2 years
I began
before.
staking them all out with
the
bamboo.
only thing I did is when I came back 2 or 3 months ago,
then
I began staking them all out
I was able
bamboo.
to plant some garlic, so I'm planting in layers.
Then garlic, I was able to plant some garlic,
behind
so
the turmeric
came up.
And
behind the turmeric
2020.
The corn
from last
year from 2020.
And now have returned
the corn
back into
dormant.
growth cycle.
And now have returned back into growth cycle.
Inside the tomato houses,
the turmeric does best of all. For some reason the ginger not. All the ginger plants that had grown, the corms just shriveled up and decomposted after the leaves had gone, but these surprisingly have come up. And here even more so, they self-generated turmeric, and the ginger after 1 year, they don't like the tomato house, or they just are, I don't know. The ginger grows fantastic, and then in the winter the corms just turn to mush. I didn't harvest them, and then I planted some peas. I soaked them overnight, and so I'm just doing this to keep the whole thing going, and then we take them with us when we are in a new location. On the back wall where it's more shaded, I put simply buckwheat seeds from the store, just ordinary buckwheat that you buy. I seeded it in, I water it. The buckwheat is a fantastic ground cover. It can also fertilise the soil, but I will let these grow until they produce seeds. And on this side against the wall, everything reseeded itself from 2019-2020, and the tomato plants, as I said, grew the way I would grow them. You might say, well, that's obvious, they're just going to land in that space and grow, but then how are they so well spaced apart? So what I did was I began training them up the bamboo poles, and I put some buckwheat in this unused area, because the roots of the plants all share sugars and amino acids or minerals or whatever. And again, these tomato plants self-planted, but due to the extreme heat of the sun this year, the solar minimum, extreme heat, they have been in basically 6 weeks suspended animation. With reduced growth and difficulty to produce fruit, but they are beginning to produce fruit now. And here I have, this is probably baby bok choy that I planted. I don't know, I threw the packet away, but I think it is. Hi there. Hi there, you. That's my This is my garden. The master gardener. He helps in the garden. Digs up the straw and keeps the air flowing in. So, and watches the garden when I'm not here. Oh yes, and I soaked peas overnight and put them in. But the peas for some reason don't really like this back wall, and so I maybe out of 20 peas or more I have maybe 8 struggling to come up, but they are beginning to grow down there in between the seeded buckwheat. And of course all of it protected by the straw. So the straw for the garden has been incredibly important, because what it has done is it protects the seeds coming up. And here I have put in now baby lettuce, and I've also planted garlic, which is soaked garlic that began to sprout and then put into soil, and of course some spinach. And what the straw was the mainstay of the garden when it was basically on its own, because it protects from cold, it protects the soil from extreme heat, maintains humidity. The straw stops the soil losing it protects the soil, it stops the soil losing water, becoming dry. And it also, for the plant roots, it maintains a basically not too wet, not too dry climate. And in that climate, these plants were able to seed themselves and grow and be successful without any human intervention. I put up a UV camping tarp to protect the terrace from the extreme heat. And here I harvested the potatoes. This was just kind of like wasteland. I built up the soil on my own. And now I have planted here spinach and I think onions. Yep, onions, and I just throw the seeds in because I'm not always here. So this is baby lettuce and turmeric that has come up from 2020, and the Swiss chard also came up on its own without human intervention. All of it maintained the ecology of the soil, maintained by the straw, the cover of straw, allowed these plants to self-seed when they were ready, as the straw maintained balanced humidity in the soil. I will talk about this in more detail, but right now I'm giving an introduction because all of this is new to me. I'm observing nature. Nature is my teacher, and I'm observing this phenomenon. And these tomatoes are also self-seeded, and these are some seeds that I had thrown in. I just thrown them in, and I couldn't maintain anything, and they've all come up. No tomatoes. Actually, I just threw the tomatoes in the soil. And then in patches I do like baby lettuce, and somewhere in there are some spinach and Swiss chard. And these also grew on their own. They were potatoes put in the soil and didn't grow, and then on their own they have grown in the right timing, maintained by the straw cover, so that no matter what of the cold or the heat, or if they got water or not, there was a sustainable protection. And then behind the turmeric have seeded for themselves from the corms. They're late, but that is due to the crazy weather, and I'll also talk about that later. But this basically is a self-maintained garden.